And in Britain too, as the culture goes down the hill, and there's not much left of the culture now, it's such a milieu, or a mosaic of so many bits and pieces of cultures, plus you have the criminal element working big time. He's a girl of 15 who sold off to a French fry shop, chip shop they call it, workers by a gang for £100 gasoline money. Yeah. There's a lot of this stuff going on now too. It says, a married man sold a 15-year-old girl to restaurant workers for sex so he'd buy petrol to get home, a court heard yesterday. And it says, Tanvir Ahmed, known as T to the young children he groomed, arranged for 3 men to have sex with the youngster for £100, the court was told. Pocketed the cash to put fuel in his car and pay off gambling debts. Now it says, the 39-year-old is one of 9 Asian men on trial for 55 separate charges, which include trafficking, grooming and rape against teenage girls 13 to 16 between 2007 and 2009. Now guess what the girls got in return for this? They were groomed, especially for sex, And it says the 7 teenage girls, all from Telford, Shropshire, were said to have been enticed and ensnared into a destructive world by offers of drugs. That's what they wanted, drugs. These young children wanted drugs, alcohol, and top-ups on their mobile phones. That's your modern world for you. Eh? It says the girls believed themselves to be loved and in love with some of the men, but were described by their abusers as something slags. You can fill it in for yourself. Again, you get it from Hollywood. There's not a sentence goes by without the word in it nowadays. So, anyway, that's how things are going, is that the state brings you down and down and down. You see, all the destruction within society was deliberate. And Tony Blair's assistant to the Prime Minister came out in mainstream and said that. The idea was to flood Britain with diverse cultures very rapidly in large numbers so that the culture of Britain would be destroyed and could never be resurrected again. Until no old culture that was self-sufficient could ever reform itself and be self-sufficient again. That's the plan. And the chaos you have with prostitution and that's just, again, you can't make the omelette without breaking eggs, as the big boys say.
This was a major police operation to protect vulnerable girls here in Stockport. The youngest victim is just 14. It's alleged the girls were befriended, groomed and then passed between gangs of men. The operation was only sparked after a number of girls in care told their social workers they'd been horrifically abused. Detectives have so far spoken to 39 girls, either as suspected victims or witnesses. The gangs targeted teenagers either in care or from troubled backgrounds. They were then plied with drink or drugs and taken to sex parties, where it's alleged they were sexually exploited by groups of men. The Children's Society works with young runaways in Manchester and warns any teenager could become a victim of grooming.
When your child starts returning home and they might have unusual traits of behaviour, they may be coming home with clothing, with perfume, with a mobile phone, and they're kind of quite cagey about information. These are all indicators and signs that would possibly link to sexual exploitation.
Stockport Children's Services say they're working with the police to support the victims who are extremely traumatised and will need extensive therapy. Elaine Wilcox, Granada Reports, Stockport. Eight men have been charged as part of an investigation into the alleged sexual exploitation of children in Rochdale. Greater Manchester Police have been looking at allegations that 4 teenagers were exploited. A total of 26 men have now been arrested.
They crawled the streets of Derby looking for young girls they raped and sexually abused after plying them with drink and drugs. One of Abid Sadiq and Mohammed Learkat's victims was only 12.
At the end of the day, we are going to continue to see this horrendous crime being committed against young girls unless we get agencies working together and sharing information.
The Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre found there were 2,083 victims between January 2008 and March this year, with most girls between 14 and 15. But the numbers could be much higher. In January, the former Home Secretary and MP for Blackburn, Jack Straw, accused some Pakistani men of seeing young white girls as easy meat.
It's an issue about how those young men think of women of their own ethnicity who tend to be off limits, and then what they do about vulnerable white girls.
He did go on to stress it isn't just an Asian problem. Groups like the Ramadan Foundation, who helped CEOP with this report, believe that demonising one group won't make it go away.
This is not about race, this is about protecting these young vulnerable girls from these evil men, and there should be no hiding place for them in either our community or any community in this country.
This report comes after Sadiq, Learkat and their gang were jailed for abusing up to 60 girls. But with claims that police, social services and charities are failing the hidden victims of grooming, others may still get away with targeting the scared and the vulnerable. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
The coldest of stares from a woman who plotted rape. Stephanie Knight convinced two 16-year-olds that her friend was driving them to a club back in December 2009. Plied with booze and drugs, the world blurred around the teenagers. Knight then revealed her true intent. She was delivering them to a gang in Accrington. Amjad Hussain, Shahid Hussain and Tanvir Butt planned a night-long assault. The girls were pulled into a derelict house on this street and abused in the darkness. One was thrown into a bedroom, a wardrobe slid across the doorway so she couldn't escape, and raped repeatedly. When her friend tried to stop the attack, she was held back.
All three of the men have shown no remorse about what they've done. Two of them still deny that they were present at the scene.
What about Stephanie Knight?
She certainly knew what was likely to happen with these men. She could have stopped it from the outset.
One of the gang was caught on camera that night buying vodka and coke to subdue the teenagers. His calm demeanour gave no hint of his crime.
We're dealing with several cases like this at the moment.
Child protection experts say a skilled cover-up is no surprise, nor recruiting a girl to find victims.
The nature of this crime is a hidden crime, so generally communities aren't aware of it. But I think it's a growing crime, and I think it's a horrendous crime that women, children can be exploited in such a violent and obscene manner.
So why did Knight help organise such violence against other girls? Police say she'd been sexually groomed in the past. One charity helping exploited children believes she was a victim herself.
We would use the term brainwashing. Girls are completely and utterly brainwashed into living a particular lifestyle. Very often the girl in question will see one of those people as her boyfriend who loves her, who cares for her.
But they didn't know what care was. Convicted alongside Knight of conspiracy to rape or rape itself, they'll be sentenced next month. Rob Smith, Granada Reports, Accrington.
Tony Blair said he would change the face of Britain forever with mass immigration, so that they could never go back to anything resembling what they thought was a British way of life. And then they go on and on about, they have to limit the amount of visas they give out, and so, well, that will be the day, because it's not on the cards. What's happened was on the cards. It was planned that way. Planned that way. And you better start getting to understand what really is going on.